to all youth, do not become bitter because of the police youth shootings or the police shootings that you see happening mainly with Hamite young men. And this has been going over for most of your, teenage life, going back as far as Trayvon Martin, if you are in your early 20s, and as recent as Daunte Wright, if you are just in middle school. I'm asking you, I'm instructing you in a way that is an absolute plea. Do not allow the media, do not allow people that progress economically, financially, and also socially, professionally from these events. Do not let what they're dispensing to you in the media and other discussions about race and police shootings and police brutality, police reform, the defund the police brutality, etc. I plead with you with everything that's within me. Don't allow these events to cause you to be bitter of spirit and angry at heart. And I'm going to explain to you why, and I'm going to try to do it in a way that will help you to understand, because just my asking you to do that will not work. Let me say, first of all, that you need to understand that most of this information you get and the way it is filtered to you, it is designed in many ways to make you angry. Yes, the police shooting of Daunte Wright was an indeed event that took place pretty much the way you saw it on the police cameras, or the murder of George Floyd there in Minneapolis took place just as you saw it. But that is just the beginning stages of it. The media, that is newspapers and television and reporters and news reporters, etc., all have an agenda. They have an agenda. Their agenda is to get people to watch their broadcasts or read their newspaper as opposed to watching some other broadcast or reading some other newspaper. So they packaged the information about George Floyd or about Daunte Wright, what's his name, Daunte Wright, I guess I'm pronouncing it correctly, or others that have been killed by police within your lifespan that you are aware of. They package it. Now, please listen to me very carefully. I'm not saying that the events did not take place, but the media, they package these events to get you to watch. And one of the most basic human responses to get people's attention is to get them angry. And many times the news reporters, the people that promote it, they are there for the purpose of making money off of these tragedies. You need to understand that. The Washington Post, the New York Times, the executive editors, the owners, the stockholders of CNN or ABC or Fox News or whoever, they don't really care about the deaths. They live in a cocoon and a balloon, if you will, world where very likely impossible. They live in neighborhoods where this is not going to happen to them. But they need to make money. And they know to make you angry. Please listen to me, young people. Please listen to me. I'm not saying that Daunte Wright was not murdered or killed, rather. I'm not saying that George Floyd was not murdered. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying to you is that don't let them package it in such a way and present it to you in such a way as to cause you to be angry and bitter, while at the same time constantly watching their broadcast and they're constantly raising their rates to people that advertise on their television. You have always heard, or you've not always heard, but you probably potentially have heard, there are two sides to every story. There are. And no matter what might be the event, if you're just getting one side of it, and the one side that you're getting is salted down or seasoned with lies and innuendos, simply to make you angry, to force you to vote a certain way, to vote for a certain politician because a certain politician said we're going to stop this or we're going to start that. So the media plays a major role in getting politicians elected while at the same time making money for themselves. So effectively what they would do, they would take a George Floyd event and they will publicize it to no end. It'll be nonstop, 24-hour, wall-to-wall coverage about George Floyd. Or right now, if you've been watching the news, Daunte Wright out in Brooklyn Center, Minnesota. The wall-to-wall coverage of people standing around last night that defying the police, defying the curfew. There's really nothing going on, but they're constantly covering, asking questions about this. And then the other thing, many of the protesters that were there and many of the protesters that will be in the streets are there because they have an agenda, or they are there because the media has hyped them. And the side of the story, the real truth of the matter, is not being told. And so you're getting one side just to make you angry, so you'll watch it continually and you'll vote a certain way when it's political time to vote. You need to be aware of that. Many times the media, the news people, and the politicians will use you. They will use your anger. There's an event in the life and times of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. where the media started covering him with the Montgomery bus boycott. And then after a while, they just got kind of used to Dr. King and his marches, and they no longer were covering him. So they retreated back to their citadels at Washington Post and New York Times, and Dr. King was left without anybody to cover him. So what Dr. King did, and this is documented, and I'm going to ask Dr. Leah Hartfield and Elder LaFleur to bring up this incident in terms of where it happened and how it happened, but to show you, here's what Dr. King did. He needed to get people in the abolitionist movement or people in the civil rights movement angry enough in order to be able to continue to support him, to sustain him. You know what Dr. King did? Dr. King no longer used adults, grown men and women in their marches and protests, but he concocted an idea in the Birmingham school system to get teenagers, school students, who had never marched before in an individual march. He brought them out of the classrooms during school hour, knowing that the sheriff of Birmingham, Bull Connor, was going to turn on the fire hoses and going to use the dogs against teenagers. What Dr. King knew was that by subjecting these children to marching and the fire hoses, and the media would see it on television, John Kennedy would see it, people in New York would see it, people in California would see it, how awful these white people are in Alabama, putting fire hoses and dogs on children. But you have to remember, they would not have done that if Dr. King didn't bring those children out of school during school time. And he brought them out because he knew the media would come and watch it, and he knew that that would finance or fuel his movement again and get people talking about him, get him popular again. And so he put the lives of school children in jeopardy so that he himself could still remain relevant. You have to know that's what Dr. King did. There is no refuting of that. It's a historical fact that this man used children to promote himself. Now, that doesn't sound good to you, and you're probably not going to like it, but Dr. Hartfield, she's going to pull it up, and LL4 is going to facilitate to show you that's exactly what he did. He didn't do it for the children. He didn't do it for the mom. He did it to promote Dr. King. So I want you to understand, when you see the media covering George Floyd or Daunte Wright or Trayvon Martin or Michael Brown or Eric Garner, and they cover it wall to wall, they're trying to get you angry so they can get you to vote for the politicians they want you to vote for, and they're not always telling the right story. This backstory I just told you about the Birmingham fire hoses and dogs on school children, that's the backstory. Well, if you know that, then you know that Bull Connor's not the only one to be blamed for that. Dr. King himself needs to bear some responsibility of subjecting the lives of children to dogs and fire. He needs to be held accountable for that. Now, there are very few people on planet Earth that will say that the way it is, the way I've just said it, but it's true. Please don't let these people get you angry and then cause you to go out marching in the street, burning and looting, or becoming very bitter at police and society. They are using the media to stir up anger in you. Can I share one of, especially Hamite and black people, to get black people, Hamite people, to vote a certain way, or to watch a certain, or to hate people, hate white people. But it isn't. What the media is telling you isn't always true. Most of the time, if it has to do with black people and police shooting, it's usually a lie. If they tell you the truth about George Floyd or Dante Wright, and what I'll say to you, and many of you probably heard me say, that if George Floyd had just simply gotten in the car. Now, Derek Chauvin killed him and murdered him. That was cold-blooded murder. That cold-blooded murder. That was cold-blooded demonic murder. In fact, that murder might be a patent murder like we ain't never seen murder before. I mean, that was worse than the Valentine's Day murder, what Derek Chauvin did to George Floyd. But what you have to realize, and that's my position. And Derek Chauvin should be punished to the fullest extent of the law for it. But what you have to realize is that murder never would have taken place, my friends. All I'm trying to say to you is that you can't just blame Derek Chauvin. The murder never would have taken place if George Floyd had simply gotten in the car and not resisted. It would not have happened. It just wouldn't happen. So you have to realize, you say, well, he had the right to resist police. Then anything can happen to you. Start with police got guns, man. They'll shoot you. You're talking about resisting, and they have the Constitution on their side to shoot you. So don't resist. Don't resist. So when I say that George Floyd should have gotten in the car, I'm not against him. I'm not a hater of black people. I ain't beating down on the black man. I'm not trying to be against black folk. I'm just telling you, people get arrested all over America all day long, and they just get in the car and they go to the police station and they have a lawyer get them out of jail. George Floyd decided to hold court in the damn street. Dante Wright decided to hold court in the street, and he lost. You have to understand. Somebody needs to tell you that. You're going to be mad with Derek Chauvin. He did murder him. There's no doubt about it. But you have to look at George Floyd. The man decided to hold court in the street. Where did I get that term from? I got that term from something I used to think about. Were I to be stopped by the police, I'm going to hold court in the street. I ain't going to jail. You see? And so if I had gotten shot, it was because I probably was trying to shoot at police. Young people, don't let Black Lives Matter, don't let these news people, don't let them cause you to be bitter and anger, to stunt you, and then profit for you, pimp you, make money off of your anger, cause you to vote a certain way, cause you to march in the street, cause you to do this or that or the other. Don't let them pimp you like this, my young people. Here, let me put one other thing to you, put it to you a different way. So Dr. King really needs to be brought to task for using those young people to get notoriety for himself. And Dr. Leah Hartfield, Ella LaFleur, is going to show you that in the event you don't believe me, that Birmingham school event. But one other thing. But I'll share something with you. You're not only aware of police shooting young black men, right? You know about that. But you also know about young white men, Japheth men, shooting students in schools or in supermarkets or in mass shootings at churches, synagogues. You'll know about that as well. Most recently was the shooting down in Atlanta, Georgia, at the massage parlor of those 6 Korean women and 2 others, or the shooting out in Boulder, Colorado, at the supermarket, where not only 10 people were killed, but a police officer was killed as well. at that Boulder, Colorado event, or the Parkland High School shooting. Many of y'all are old enough to know about Parkland High School, or about Sandy Hook right up here in Connecticut, right up above us here in New York. Preschool, 5-year-olds, 21 of them were killed with bullets to the head, and 6 teachers were killed by a young man who walked in, the same age of Dante Wright, walked in with an AR-15 and killed 21 students and teachers. And here's what I want to point out to you, that when these shootings take place, a number of people come running to the microphones or television cameras and say, we need to get gun control. We need to get guns out of the hands of these young JFIF boys. We need to get these AR-15s. You don't need a rifle like that. You don't need it to hunt with. You don't need it. Only reason why you got something like that is to do mass murder. Here comes another group of politicians and their media cohorts saying, you're trying to take away our Second Amendment. You're trying to take away our right to bear arms. And so there's this big fight going on where the people who get money, who profit from the sales of guns, who profit from people who want to keep these guns, who profit from gun fanatics, who like to have 100 guns in their homes and their garages and their bedrooms. And then the NRA itself, which promotes gun use, they're all out there fighting, saying, no, don't let these young boys have these guns. They don't say it this way, but effectively what they mean is we don't care how many shootings they have in high schools. We don't care how many students are killed in high school, white students, black students. We don't care. Don't take away guns from people. So you see here, and you think to yourself, what is wrong with these people? These are 5-year-old little children that were shot in the head with hot bullets that would kill an elephant. And yet you got people on television saying that this boy ought to be able to have all the guns he wants, that if you take away guns out of the hands of people, you're now becoming you're violating the Second Amendment to the Constitution. You think to yourself, these people must be crazy. Stop, take the guns, you can stop the shooting. But the shootings don't stop because you got the media, you got television, you got reporters, you got politicians, you got business people all profiting from the sale of guns. And they don't give a damn about a 5-year-old or 15-year-old being shot down in the street or in schools. Moreover, police officers get killed at these events. So you can see that, right? You can see that there ought to be some sort of gun control. I mean, you ought not be able to kill children like that. Somebody, if you take the gun from him, he can't walk into a school up in Connecticut and kill 21 children. You got enough sense to know that. But the reason why it goes on is because the media pimps it. The media makes money. Politicians make money from this whole gun business. And the media makes money from Black Lives Matter. The Black Lives Matter marching in the street, raising hell, burning and looting out there in the street, forming all over America, forming marches. The media makes billions of dollars of reporting that, seeing a bunch of angry black people in the street with their fists raised, Black Lives Matter sign. Well, hell, the cameras come and they can sell commercials. They make money. They want to keep you in the street. In fact, they'll give you money and food to stay out there marching because they make money from it. Young people don't get pimped by this foolishness. Don't get bitter. Don't get hustled. Don't get played. Don't get waylaid. Don't get bamboozled by these events. Yeah, George Floyd was murdered. There ain't no doubt about it. But he didn't have to be. He could have gotten that police car, gone to the Popo station, and, maybe his girlfriend would have come and gotten him out. Dante Wright got in his car after the police tried to put the handcuffs on him, resisted the police, got in his car, and was attempting to drive off. Now, the officer that shot him, she was negligent. She should have been better trained. She should know better between a taser and a Glock 5 or 9 or whatever it is she shot him, but she should know better. She should be brought to account on that. But if Dante Wright had just allowed them to arrest him, you wouldn't know his name. He'd be alive today. So he's got to bear some responsibility. Listen, my young people, listen, don't let these people turn you into a bitter, if you will, sycophant for foolishness, and then keep you from integrating into a larger society. These people are professional at making money off of your anger. You're going to see it all on television. And by the way, just for you young people right here at our school, you know, we do a lot of good things right here at our school. You know that? You know, we're producing doctors, lawyers. You come to our school and you get a great education. We got loving, dedicated teachers. We got a safe environment. We've also got a slamming, jamming, show enough, if you will, boom shakalaka lunch and a breakfast. We got good. Did you ever see the news? People ever come here? Yeah, we've not had one fight. We don't have no metal detector, right? Come on, young people. Now, come on. Don't you think something like this is worthy to be put on the news so the whole world can see of children getting an excellent education that allows them to go to the best schools in America, getting a good lunch at the same time, dedicated teachers that spend as much time with you as you want. We don't use metal detectors. We don't have fights. It's a safe environment. Don't you think something like that, the ABC or CNN or somebody else ought to be reporting that to the public, to the world? Well, let me ask you a question. When's the last time you've seen CNN come here to talk about the good work that we're doing, or the meals that we're feeding, or the provision that we're giving for children? They ain't coming for that, because that's not going to help them promote anger. That's going to cause other people who are angry or going to these public schools, rapping and going through metal detectors, to look at this situation and then discover, well, you know, must be something wrong with it. It must be something wrong. He's anti-gay. He's anti-Obama. So we ain't going to give them no publicity. Come on, young people. Wake the hell up. Wake the hell up. You know we do a good work here. But all your life, you've never seen the camera come here. But they're going to be out there in the streets. As soon as it get warm enough, Black Lives Matter going to be out there raising hell, marching all up and down everywhere, cussing out, and the camera going to be right there interviewing this one, interviewing that one, because that makes money for the people. That makes money for the television station. That makes money for the newspaper. And then here comes the politicians. And don't let me forget about Al Sharpton and Ben Crump. Do you know that Ben Crump does not run to support the family of George Floyd or Daunte Wright just because he's a good preacher? He's a good pastor, want to go and sit and pray with the family. Hell no. Hell no. George Floyd's family got $26 million settlement from the city of Minneapolis, the state of Minnesota. How much of that did Ben Crump get? I guarantee you he got at least $2.5 million as a percentage of the money that was paid to the family. And every one of these shootings where the city has to pay Ben Crump and Al Sharpton get paid millions of dollars, they're not going there because they're altruistic. They want to pray with the family, as a good pastor would come visit you in the hospital. Hell no, hell no, hell no. They go because they get paid. They're there and they can't wait till the next shooting, because every shooting is a payday for Ben Crump. Every shooting is a payday for Al Sharpton. Every shooting is more ratings for Al Sharpton on his television broadcast. So listen, young people, please understand. Don't become bitter and angry and believe everything you see about these police shootings. You see, what doesn't touch you as much is when those people that were killed up in Sandy Hook, those 5-year-olds, they're white. Many of them, most of them, all of them. So it didn't bother you. You know, that's wrong. You should have been just as concerned about them as you were George Floyd. Only one George Floyd, but 21 5-year-olds were shot in the head with bullets big enough to kill an elephant. You don't even mourn about that. You don't talk about it. But you see, you need to have sympathy. You need to ask, why are these 5-year-olds being killed? And their teachers. It would be like somebody walking into our school and killing everybody, killing Precious LaFleur, killing all the children, killing Naomi, and killing all the teachers, and then walking out. And then I stand up and say, we need to ban guns. We need to stop this. And somebody on television over there, politicians, say, no, we ain't banning guns. We have a First Amendment right to carry arms, and so we're going to allow people to keep on shooting. You say, what the hell? This is crazy as hell. And it is. But it's the same thing with George Floyd. It's the same thing with Daunte Wright. It's the same thing with Trayvon Martin. It's the same thing with Michael Brown. It's the same thing with all of them. It's the same thing. People are pimping you to get you to be angry, and then Black Lives Matter all of a sudden out there supposed to be representing black people living in white neighborhoods, getting millions of dollars to march in the street, getting television interviews, getting magazines, getting on the cover of magazines, all because of George Floyd or Trayvon Martin or Jacob Blake. But listen, young people, wise up. They're playing you. They're pimping you. They're not telling you the truth. They're not. Somebody need to come along and say, well, it's, Derek Chauvin's on trial, convict him, send him away. But no point in other young black men being shot down or being angry, or being angry at white folk because of something George Floyd did when he should have just, or Daunte. Listen, please hear me. Please hear me on this one, young people, and spread the word. Don't let them get you. Because once they put that bitter pill in you, once they got you thinking that the police are the worst people on planet Earth, let me tell you something. Black Lives Matter was running around here the other day talking about defund the police. Some of the neighborhoods y'all live in, my friend, let me tell you something. If there were no police in your neighborhood, you couldn't go to school. Because these young black boys with their pants down below their butt showing their dirty underwear, they would rob and rape and maim, and even as it is, they're talking about we don't need no police. They done lost it. They're just doing that to make money. They're doing that to get people excited. Don't let them get you, young people. And there's so many young people out there who are mad. They're going to be out there tonight marching for Daunte Wright. And if George Floyd, if Derek Chauvin comes away acquitted, you're going to burn America down. But the truth of the matter is the media, they are the ones that is selling you this lie, causing you to be angry and bitter, don't want to participate in society, hating the white folk, hating police, and they're stealing from you. Dr. Hartfield, Elder LaFleur, and Bennett and Bowman and Butler, all y'all work on this. Go back to the Birmingham school when Dr. Martin Luther King, which was unbecoming of a pastor, unbecoming of a preacher, to put children out there on the street knowing they're going to be dogs and fire hoses. But it got him publicity. It got him back in the news again. It made him a popular man again. But he did it at the risk of young children. And that's what these other politicians do. They do it with George Floyd, whether it's Ben Crump or whether it's Al Sharpton. They all are pimping you. And they live in neighborhoods where this ain't going to happen to them. That's why they live around white folk, like LeBron James. He ain't going to live around black folk. Why? Because black folk will rob you. Live around white folk is safer. Please hear me, young people. Please hear me. And even if you hear older people talking about it, or preachers talking about in the pulpit about how bad police are, they're wrong. They got something to prove. They're out there, they're hustling you. And many of them are just bitter and just ignorant and just don't know any better. They've been so far removed from God. All of these shootings that have taken place, for the most part, there have been some shootings that should have not taken place. But if you just look at the Parkland High School shooting, and the school teachers, the ATLAH school teachers, you go over there, the number of people that killed at Parkland High School. Or you can go all the way back to Columbine in Colorado. Or you can go up to the Sandy Hook. If you look at just the number of fifth graders, Amir, a young boy Amir in our school, if you just look at the number of fifth graders, 5-year-olds like Naomi and like Elisha, in that age category, got shot in the head with a bullet. If you look at the number of those that were killed in Sandy Hook going back a few years ago, if you count up all the young black men that have been killed by police, whether it be in Chicago or Tawan, whoever, it still would amount to the number of young 5-year-old white children that were killed. And yet there's no outrage from you about 5-year-old white children that got killed. But you bitch and moan and march and raise holy hell about a high school dropout like George Floyd or Dante Wright or some of these others. You see, and why do you do that? Because the media is telling you to be angry. The media is telling you to be angry with that. And then the black media tell you don't be angry at white children. I mean, if somebody walked in and killed Elisha and Naomi and Brahma's little brother, and he would still be able to keep his gun, and you see politicians saying he ought to be able, don't take his gun away, he ought to be able to keep. You say, what the hell? He just killed Naomi. He just killed her. You got to take his gun away. They say, no, he has a right to have a gun. He has a right to have a gun. You say, what the hell is going on? You know what you did? You're going to then become Pastor Manning. You're going to then become Pastor Manning, seeing the world through truth, seeing the world with truth. That's exactly what needs to happen. I pray with you. Don't become bitter. And don't listen to even a local preacher. Let's say your parents go to another church and that fool up there talking all that black talking out, talking about Al Sharpton, talking about Obama. You know, Obama went to a church in Chicago for 20 years, right? And never attended. And during the time Obama was president, 10,000 black men were killed in a period of 8 years by other black youth. You know about that, right? You do. Obama never attended one damn funeral. Not one. He never went to one funeral of boys that were killed right there where he lived in Chicago. He never attended. He didn't care. It wasn't important there. And there's this beautiful little girl named Jemiah something, 15-year-old, got shot in the head while playing in the park and just walking through the park. He didn't, and the world said, I know, surely he's going to go to this funeral. He didn't go to that one. But he and Al Sharpton and Common, you know, the actor and the rapper Common, down at the White House with Stevie Wonder while these funerals are going on. You see, it's all a game. It's all a game. The same game Dr. King played. Dr. King need to be brought to task for subjecting them young children to fire hoses and dogs. He need to be excoriated. Obama needs to be denounced. Al Sharpton need to be denounced. You need to know the truth. And also you need to know that these Japheth white politicians who fight like hell against any kind of gun reform, against any kind of legislation to prohibit the use of guns or the possession of guns or the sale of guns, they need to be brought to task. And you need to understand it's all a game. It's all a political media hype game. And I'll close with this. The worst of the people out there right now, not the politicians, even the media, that the worst group, the most satanic group of people promoting death and destruction and bitterness and the fact that young black people will be stunted in their lives, not being able to make it and integrate themselves with the rest of society, is that group called Black Lives Matter. That is about the ugliest, most violent, satanic group ever formed in the history of black people. Not even the Mau Maus or Black Panthers. They had integrity, Black Panthers. You know, the Black Panther movement started breakfast programs in schools all over the south side of Chicago. Did you know that? They provided health services and driving people to the hospital. The Black Panthers did. They only said we'll have a right to bear arms and we have a right to defend ourselves against aggressiveness. But they had food programs, they had the first breakfast program in America, bar none, white or black, was started by the Black Panthers. Black Lives Matters is the most vicious, cancerous group. There's not a disease on the medical disease chart. There's not a hate. There's not an ignorance on the ignorance chart that is vile as Black Lives Matter. Stay the hell away from them, and anybody who goes near them, you stay the hell away from them. Let's go to the Lord in prayer. Jesus, we love you so very, very much, and I know you love the children, and you told me to speak to them today. And I know the teachers know me. They know the teachers, they understand what I'm saying. And like the subject matter of the fact that the school and the church and the home need to be on the same accord. The school should not be teaching and the church teaching one thing, and then when you go home, you hear something completely different. That is foolishness. And anybody who permits that is crazy as hell to allow that to happen. Even if your child goes to a school and you don't believe in what the pastor is teaching, then you ought to take your child out of school and put the child in the school where you believe what your pastor is teaching is the right thing. And if you don't do that, you're crazy as hell. But the teachers here know. And I want to ask Elder LaFleur and Dr. Hartfield, all your teachers, make sure that we study this, we go over this, because you got thousands of black men in prison now who ain't gonna never have a life. Their life is over with. They ain't gonna never be able to get a decent job. They're pretty much ready to go to the street, to start hanging out with the men on this corner right here in front of the church. That's what if they're in their 30s and 40s right now. But their lives are over with until they die. They can never get a decent job. They will never be of note. They will never be able to have a structured lifestyle or a decent family or a decent coming and going. They're going to be on the corner, in shelters, on some sort of substance from the government and from the pharmaceutical people for the rest of their natural born lives, which won't be long, probably another 20 years if they're 40 years old now. Young people, don't let that happen to you. Don't let the media do it. Don't let Al Sharpton. Don't let Obama. Don't let Ben Crump. Don't let them do that to you. Don't let them do that. Go another way. There are two sides to every story. No matter what you hear somebody say about something else, there's another side to it that you also need to hear. Teachers, let's go to work on this. Save our young people. They're precious. These are precious young people. They're beautiful. Don't let Black Lives Matter turn them into, if you will, rappers and liars and thieves and the worst of the anger out in the street marching and cussing and burning and looting. Teachers, ATLAH teachers, and ATLAH parents, and ATLAH elders and evangelists, let's pray. Let's pray. Y'all pray with me. Help me on this. It seems like I'm the only one out here that'll tell people the truth. But help me with this. In your name, Jesus, we pray and give thanks. Hallelujah and amen. This is symbolic. It's where Jesus was baptized. It's where John baptized. And so this is not a rebaptism. It's just a symbolic, if you will, act of what we're going to do, being in the water at the place where Jesus was baptized. And what I'd like to do is to baptize today that we would come to terms with the understanding of what God is calling for in righteousness. He's not calling for prosperity. He isn't calling for culturalism. God is calling for righteousness. If we would commit ourselves to fulfill all righteousness, and God has called us to be persecuted for righteousness' sake, as John was persecuted for righteousness, and so Jesus. I got to tell you that I'll never forget this experience of actually stepping in the water where Jesus were baptized, and where John has baptized so many people. This is such a historic and a powerful, powerful sight. Just to touch the water was so critical. And I'm glad that people got baptized to have that experience. It was a safe experience and a great experience. I'm not even going to change my clothes. I want to just stay in baptism mode until I get back to the hotel. So that's what I want to say. All right.
This has been live from the Jordan River. God bless you all. Peace.
Righteousness. Boom, chakalaka goes right there.
Over the years, we have served more than 1 million meals to hungry bellies and hungry people here in the Harlem community. And I wanted you to be able to see that. I want you to see our involvement with youth, our summer youth programs, our courtyard being used as a place where children can be safe, guarded, and protected as they have their miniature swimming pools. And a safe place for children to eat that is guarded, that is protected by our own sense of security, and the wholesome and fresh meals that we serve. We wanted you to be able to see the mission of this church. And we've been doing this for years. Just recently, one of our members more than a 30-year member of this church, but it hasn't, not one that, that you would probably find as members of some other churches with their nose stuck up in the air. But her father is now close to death or very sick in the state of South Carolina. And I said to her, well, because she doesn't have money, I said, we will buy you a bus ticket, a round trip bus or train ticket for you to travel to South Carolina to be with your father in this time of pandemic. There's very little funding around. There's sickness everywhere. And the thing that just blew me away was she said, as she was talking to Elizabeth, she said, but how are you going to do that, to pay for me a round trip ticket to travel and give me expense money? And because Pastor Manning has to feed the children, he has to educate the children, he has to buy school supplies for them, he has to pick them up in the mornings and take them back, and then he's got the ministry he has to take care of, all the bills of running the church, of keeping a major house like our house operational, keep the lights on, how are you going to be able to do that? And she was almost reluctant to take the money because she felt that it would be better served by feeding the children. We gave it to her anyway. But we want you to know that we do a work in this community. There have been a lot of lies told on us. And it's almost unimaginable why some of the people that have lied on us. But I can tell you behind all of it is the LGBTQ community. They don't want us to be successful, but we are, and we're going to continue to be successful in serving the meals that we're serving and serving the people that we are. And the LGBTQ community will not take us down. They are not going to take our church. Yet they've defamed us. They've written ugly newspaper articles about us. They've marched against us. They've done a whole lot of ugly things. But you see what we have done, and that's not even the half of our service to children and to the needy in terms of our homeless shelters and the things that we've done over the years. And we will continue. And probably the lies and the smears and the ugly newspaper articles and the wicked spirits and the so-called I ain't for the black man, that is not going to go away. I don't expect it to go away. I don't. But I do tell you this, that we will succeed against all of that, for God is with us, and I am his servant.